Geocachamaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Well, welcome to GeoGearHeads. This is the 222nd, I like those repeating numbers, 222, episode of the GeoGearHeads. You know, we talk about geocaching and geolocation games every week right here at this very time. And I forgot to mention, I'm the bad cop with my host, Daryl W4.
You know, and whenever I hear 222, I keep thinking about that like really bad sitcom from the 80s, I think it was.
70s. Maybe
Was
even
it the
60s.
70s?
Room 222?
226, wasn't it? I thought it was
No.
226.
There might have been a 226, but 222 is the one that's coming to mind. And now I'm going to have to look it
You're
up.
thinking of Room 222.
Yes, Room 222 is the one that
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. You know, it had that like really 70s, 80s typeface.
It wasn't as good as, Welcome Back, Kotter.
No.
Well, there
let's see.
was 227 that had Marla Gibbs in it. That was kind of a show with Jackie Harry, and it was kind of popped. It was like right after the Jeffersons ran its course, and Marla Gibbs kind of started doing that show for a while. But that was 227.
Okay, there's the 222, and this is coming from Wikipedia.
I trust them.
Is an American comedy drama series, so not a sitcom apparently, by 20th Century Fox. It was on ABC for 112 episodes. So hey, we've beat Room 222
Yes! What?
by 110 episodes.
Doubled them. What was the run dates?
It was 1969 to 1974.
Yeah.
So I was completely off.
No, I had it. I remember. We used to watch it. I don't know why. I couldn't name a character of it. I just remember Room 222.
Meanwhile, Limax says it was also his dorm room number for the first 2 years of college, and the time that he was born. So I guess this is Limax
He
show.
was born in his dorm room?
No, he was born while he was in his dorm room.
Oh, okay.
Go figure that out. I'm thinking a TARDIS might have been involved.
Oh. What? How many rooms are in the TARDIS?
Hey, Limax, are you a Time Lord? And for anyone who doesn't recognize that voice, that's actually Rock Chalk from Geocaching HQ, also known probably a little bit better around the community now as Chris.
I like that you said Geocaching HQ with a little question at the end of it, like from Geocaching HQ. Like, are we sure that's where he's still from? Has he not been fired yet? What is up with that? Are you still there, Chris? Yeah, they haven't gotten rid of me yet. So
No, frankly, I'm still having problems.
This really isn't my bedroom. This is Geocaching HQ. I'm not making this up. I'm really here.
Sure, we almost believe you.
I'm still getting used to the change from Groundspeak to geocaching. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's still kind of interchangeable. It's you definitely see a lot of folks that identify with, and that's fine. But I came to work here after they had already kind of started using Geocaching HQ. So for me, I certainly played the game first under Groundspeak, but yeah, I've kind of gotten used to it by now.
yeah, it will take me a few more years probably, but you know. Before we get into anything else, though, you guys made a cool announcement, kind of unofficially, I guess, officially, unofficially today.
Yeah, I mean it's officially, but we haven't. We're not going to have anything on the blog until next week. But we announced that we have gone live with worldwide search on the website. So what that basically means is that you can search the entire world based on keywords, DT ratings, geocache types, and you don't need a search origin. So it allows you to perform searches such as, I want to find out what the top 100 favorited caches in the world are, or I want to find out how many D2 T5 caches, how many of that combination there are in the world, and see a whole list of them. So it opens up a lot more possibilities that a lot of us as players had been wanting for a long time. and so that, we're really excited about that. There's also for premium members, there's no longer that 30-mile radius restriction, so you can have an unlimited radius. So if you're going to be going on a trip and you want to search a 500-mile radius, if you're a premium member, you can get those specific results. And then the other thing is before, whenever you would do a really big search, if you hit 15,000 results, it would just say 15,000 plus is the number of results that came from your search. Now it will give you a completely accurate number. So if you want to do a search for how many caches in the world have at least 50 favorite points, you could run that search and have an exact number, and it wouldn't just say there's at least 15,000. It'll tell you exactly how many there might be.
Nice. So I'm thinking one of the big reasons to use this is going to be, hey, I want to find all of the church micro series caches and put in that keyword, and you can get anything that has that anywhere in the world.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's anything in the title. So if you wanted to look up Bad Cop tribute caches, you could find out just how many tribute caches there are to Bad Cop in the whole world, and it wouldn't just stop at 15,000 like it used to.
Whew.
Now it'll tell you exactly there are 25,400. Yeah, exactly. It just that way you get your full credit for the number of tribute caches there are for you out there in the whole world.
Whenever the question is how many tribute caches are there for the Bad Cop, the answer is always not enough.
That's what I say. Yeah, when people ask me, I'm asked a lot. Yeah, I'm asked a lot about that.
Well, one of the other things that was announced is that this is going to replace the homepage when you're logged in, and that seems to be a little bit confusing for some people as to what it means. And we talked about it a little bit before the show. So can you just explain what that actually means to people?
So basically what it means is that it's the logged in homepage is what's replaced. So if you are logged in to the website, as a lot of us are, like for instance, I just have set to my browser, keep me logged in. You have that setting that you can choose. So that's what mine is set for. So if I just type in geocaching.com and I'm already logged in, it'll take me to the search page. So the search page is the home page for logged in users. So if you're not logged in and you go to geocaching.com, it'll take you to that splash page with the little video that runs, and then you log in, and once you've logged in, it will take you straight to the search page. So before, the home page for logged in users was more of a graphic page, and you had all the drop downs at the top of the page, which you still have on the search page, so that hasn't changed. But this exposes you to the search function immediately, which from the testing that we did for 3 to 4 weeks, we did an A/B test where basically we sent half of the web traffic to the search page and half of the web traffic to what was then the existing logged in homepage, and tested how people were interacting with it. And it was pretty clear that the better results for people were to be exposed to that search page right away. So we know that there's going to be some, as with any change, there's going to be some initial getting used to that. But we did some pretty thorough testing to see that it was the best decision possible before we made it.
Well, and if I understand what's happening correctly, is if you're on a cache page but not logged in, when you log in, then you still go right back to that cache page. Or if you're trying to get to the pocket queries, when you log in, it will probably go right back to that page. It's only if you're just going to geocaching.com and logging in that it's going to take you to that search page.
Yeah. If you're logged in and you just type into your browser geocaching.com, the search page is what you're going to see right away.
Yeah, so it's not going to really affect most people, except that now you never, if you're logged in, you're never going to see that splash screen with the video on how to go geocaching, because we hope if you have the account and you're logged in, you know how to go geocaching.
Yeah, and like I said before, if you were the logged in homepage was, like I said, it was more of just a page that from there you would decide, I'm going to do one of these 50 things. So basically we took the thing that people were going to the most from that page and said, okay, well, we'll just save you a step and take you straight to the search page. And if that's not what you want to do, you've still got all of those drop-down choices the same as you had before. None of that has changed.
So that's going to be useful for a lot of people, but we are already on 10 minutes into the show, and we haven't really talked about our topic yet. You know what? The worst part is we have feedback to handle first. So, Chris, you want to get into that?
I'd love to. We got email from the Happy Hodag. It's a great name, isn't it? On the Where's George of Canada is Where's Willie? Same webmaster even. I was listening to Randomize 44 and heard you talking about Loon Tracker. So, thanks for that feedback. Where's Willie?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but it unfortunately does not use the same login, so you have to register for both sites independently. Because that would have been cool to log, on the same site. But, the feedback is not bad. It's that, we're already 10 minutes in and we still have feedback to do. And, we asked for feedback for this show specifically about the topic at hand, which I don't think we've announced yet, have we? As on law enforcement agencies?
Oh, we just did.
We just did. So we asked for all that feedback, and one lucky contributor would get a 365-day membership to project-gc.com. So, Chris, do you want to tell us who that was that won that membership?
Oh, is that me that gets to? When you say Chris,
sorry,
I'm never sure who it is.
There's two Chris's on the show, so it could be either one of you.
Okay, so it's Doc Firewoman.
Congratulations, and we'll hear that voicemail in a little bit.
Now, we also, because we love giving things away, we have a state flag tag from coinsandpins.com going out to one person who reviewed the GeoGearHeads on iTunes or Stitchers this very week. Now, one of those reviews was by KK6ZLY. Do you see how international I did that? That sounds to me like he's a ham. He wrote a 5-star review titled The Best Geocaching Podcast Around. They say, out of the many podcasts on geocaching with different flavors and content, GeoGearHeads does it the best. I like how they're able to keep it clean, but doesn't sound like the creepy, always happy about everything vibe. It's one of the few shows I actually go back to and listen to old episodes. Thanks for the podcast. Apparently he signed the log. TFTP SL. So congrats, KK6ZLY. Drop us an email at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com by April 13th to claim your prize.
Yeah, we always like especially good comments like that, but any comment is good.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Limax in the live Q&A says he knows KK6ZL, but doesn't know KK6ZLY. Oh,
that is funny.
It's weird how those numbers and call signs can be so close together.
Yeah.
And I've heard from a few people that they have like one character off from their buddy who got their license, like a day apart. But like people who got it the same day are like nowhere close to each other.
Yeah, it depends on how they recycle those call signs.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they actually recycled those or not, but.
I know in the, and I'm going to mess it up, I want to say the advanced, the highest level, those call signs are recycled.
Oh, okay.
If it doesn't renew their license, that call sign can go out to someone else.
Interesting. Well, our topic for tonight is, in fact, law enforcement agencies, not ham radio.
Oh.
So that's why we
they
invited
use radio.
Some, yes, but not ham. Although they do use ham radio sometimes for search and rescue.
Exactly.
But Chris had actually written an article for the geocaching blog titled Geocaching and Law Enforcement Agency Partnerships, which had some good information. So we wanted to have him on and talk with us about that article and how to deal with law enforcement agencies. And I guess not deal with them, but work with them a little bit better.
Yeah, that was a fun project to work on. The impetus for it was the Portland, Oregon Police Bureau has started a geocaching program, and so back in December they put out caches at, I think, 6 to 8 police stations or police bureau locations all around Portland, and they had a kickoff event with a coin challenge where people could they had a little passport. They would go around and show that they found each of the caches in that series, and then it was actually kind of a nice mistake that happened on their part. They didn't have a chance to get traditional geocoins minted for the event. So what they ended up doing was they got the chief of police to give 50 of his own challenge coins, which, as geocoin enthusiasts know, challenge coins were really the inspiration for mountain bike coming up with the geocoin concept to begin with. So I thought that was really kind of a happy accident that that's what happened, that people ended up getting these very hard to find challenge coins from the police chief for finishing this challenge. So people had a great time with it, and it gave folks a chance to interact with law enforcement folks, not just at the event itself, but as part of their passport for this challenge on that particular day. They had a couple of, I guess, what you would call virtual waypoints, where they had police officers stationed at a couple of non-police station locations around town. And so in order to get the passcode for that particular question, you had to actually talk to a police officer. One was at a Starbucks and one was somewhere else. But they were all great, and it was just it was a really, I thought, a really nice way for law enforcement and geocachers to interact in a very positive manner, to not be interacting in the dead of the night where you are somewhere with your flashlight looking for a cache and a police officer wonders what you're doing, and maybe that can be a slightly uncomfortable situation for both the cacher and the officer. In this case, it was a great chance for the cachers and the police folks to interact, and for each side to kind of see, okay, what can we do as cachers to make sure that our game doesn't cause unnecessary hardship for these law enforcement officers, and on the law enforcement side, for them to see that, hey, we're not doing anything bad. We're playing a fun game. It's a family-friendly, enjoyable game. It's a great way to get outdoors, and they see that, and so it was a win-win for everybody. And I just thought it was a great example of that partnership between the law enforcement community and the geocaching community, and hopefully a great example for other folks to use in other places.
Well, and it seems the last couple of years we have had a number of police departments putting out caches near the precinct or whatever, and really last summer was a lot of them worldwide getting published, and a lot of stories about it in the media. So I'm really excited to see that the police are starting to at least understand and embrace it a little bit more, if not get all in with publishing their own caches.
Yeah, I think it can only be a good thing when law enforcement takes an interest in the game and has a better understanding of the game. There's nothing good to come from them not knowing what geocaching is. I mean, I think anybody who's been playing the game a while, chances are you've got your story from meeting a police officer somewhere. And for me personally, they've all been really good experiences, and for the most part, they've all been, the officer knew what was going on. I mean, once I said geocaching, they're like, oh, okay, you're fine. Whereas we don't want it to be, you say geocaching, and then you have to explain what it is, because if you put yourself in their shoes and you see someone wandering around aimlessly or looking in the bushes or got a flashlight at night, it's their job to wonder what's going on and to look into it and to be suspicious to some degree. And so if one more officer knows what geocaching is, which was another great side benefit of this Portland project, was that they created a video for internal use to show to all of the officers on the police force to say, here's what geocaching is. Here's where these geocaches are placed on our precinct properties. And if you see a geocacher out there, help them out or say hello to them or use it as a chance to engage with them, which I thought was just a fantastic part of it too, that they used it as a chance to educate the officers within their own force. And like I said, I just think it's a great example that hopefully other agencies will use in other places.
Well, we've heard a few times where agencies actually have asked geocachers and hikers or just groups of these outdoor enthusiasts to keep an eye out for signs of this. Whether it be components of a plane that might have fallen off that they're looking for to figure something out, or signs of foul play. So in many cases, it's a good thing for the law enforcement agency to get involved with the geocaching community, because then it's more sets of eyes in areas that typically the officers wouldn't be patrolling because, well, there's not a whole lot of people in the woods.
Absolutely. I think it's totally a true thing that we can be a great resource for law enforcement, because as you said, we are generally going to places that sometimes are the roads less traveled, and so if we're out there and we're able to say that we saw something or noticed whatever, then yeah, that's like an extra body, for them to be out there keeping an eye on things.
Well, and as geocachers, we know location enough that we can get those coordinates and pass them along, so someone in the department will usually have a GPS and be able to find it again.
That's right. That's right.
Even though most of the emergency services don't work from coordinates, someone always has something to do that. But we talked briefly about the law enforcement encounters. Limax says, I haven't had any experience with Leos. I did once with a rent-a-cop. He actually pointed to where he thought it was, and he was right, but cash sense was off.
Nice.
Bad Cop, you want to read the next one in the doc there?
Yeah, we asked for feedback, and we got it. This one comes from Lefrick H. He sent an email. He said, I was caching at night a while back by myself, and I had just pulled into a church parking lot and was looking at my GPS when a cop pulled up beside me. He asked what I was doing, and I told him I was geocaching and made sure to show him my GPS screen so he could see I was really looking for something. Then he wanted to know why I was doing it at night. I simply replied, because I can. He didn't seem to have any response to that, and I invited him to find the cache with me. I still think he didn't believe me that I wasn't doing anything nefarious, but he did come and show some interest. I pointed to the signpost and told him I thought it was on that post somewhere, and showed him a reflector that swiveled, and behind it was a plastic baggie. That suddenly piqued his interest, as it looked like a drug bag. I slowly unrolled the baggie and showed him the log paper that was wrapped up in it. He seemed to accept it at that point. I signed the log, replaced it, telling him that I may see him at another cache around the corner. He told me I shouldn't be doing this in the dark, and that I should move on, where I told him he was wrong, and that it was legal, and I had permission had been given for these caches to be placed where they were. He wasn't too happy about that I wasn't listening to him, and tried to make his own rules, and he actually followed me to the next cache, but sat in his car, and then I moved on, and he did too. So I understand that we're not doing anything wrong, but don't purposely go out and get a policeman angry at you.
Yeah, my thing is don't poke the bear.
Yeah. I mean,
and kind of what I was saying before, I think what I try to do in those situations is I try to put myself in the officer's shoes. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was probably my biggest story was I was caching one time doing a where I go at a baseball field, and it was one of these things where you had to walk around the field from here to just go to the various zones to get the to trip the cartridge, and then the cache was in the woods next to the field. So I did the whole cartridge and went off into the woods and got the cache, and my wife stayed in the car because it was dark. It was I don't know, 8 o'clock at night in December on a baseball field, and so chances of somebody being out on a baseball field with a flashlight at 10 o'clock at night in December are pretty slim. So I came back to the car. My wife was there with the police officer who had seen a car and wondered why is somebody at a baseball field in December, and he was very nice about it. But I could have just said, "Oh, I have every right to be here. What are you making a big deal about?" But I can understand it looks strange when somebody's out there doing that, and it's his job to wonder what's going on. And so I think that it's fair that we give each other mutual respect and try not to antagonize each other. And if we can both do that, if both sides can do that, it'll be a much healthier relationship for the entire game going forward.
Exactly.
Well, and most of the time when I've heard of situations like this where it's, you really shouldn't be doing this right now here kind of thing, they're saying, because of, sometimes it's been vandalism, other times it's been theft. Back in the original Cash Maniac series, we interviewed, I think it was someone from the Las Vegas area who was chased away from caching at night by the local law enforcement because they were having problems with people stealing components of transformers. And it just so happened they were geocaching near a big transformer.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can completely see why, law enforcement officer would be leery of someone out at night. People out at night typically are, out in the cover of darkness to do something nefarious. I agree with that. I was at a place to eat not too long ago, and I saw a police officer, and I walked up to him. I said, "Officer, I support what you do," and I stuck out my hand. And he looked down at me, looked down at my hand, looked back up at me, and says, "Thanks for offering all 5 fingers. We only normally get 1." So.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, let's go to the voicemail from this week's winner.
Hey guys, this is Doc Firewoman, or Deborah from Arkansas, and I believe you were asking about stories for Leos on an episode or so back that I was listening to. I have a funny story about a Leo encounter. 2 of my friends and I, Pink Hitch and Fire Safety Gal, and I were out caching in Clarksville, Arkansas one evening. Pink Hitch had just placed a new cache called No Trucks, and it was in a sign on the new cut-through road that said No Trucks. Very simple cache to find. So we had been eating supper, and we decided we would go get this cache. So what ended up happening is Pink Hitch was driving her big, older model green Suburban, and Fire Safety Gal and I were riding along. She turns down the road and pulls over on the side, kind of up on the sidewalk to be out of the way. No sooner had we opened the doors to her big green Suburban that up pulls a Leo, puts his blue lights on, and leaps out of his vehicle with his flashlight drawn, thankfully not his gun or his taser, thinking he was fixing to apprehend 3 ne'er-do-well punks in hoodies, because I had on a hoodie and had my back to him. He walked up on 3 women out, as he put it, doing that geo thing. You could see how crestfallen he was. Immediately apologetic that he had blue lighted us. So, sadly, he didn't have to tell, but I did.
And we apologize for the audio breaking up there, but that was unfortunately the call troubles. So, one of the nice things, Bad Cop, about K7 going away is that we won't have those kind of calls, at least until we find something else to replace K7.
Well, yeah, but it's nice for people to be able to call in and tell us their experiences in their own voice.
Yeah, well, we love having those in your own voice, and that's why we're looking for a replacement. We just don't have anything yet. Because
no matter how many impressions I can do, I could never pull off a woman from Arizona or from Arkansas.
No. But I do like that. I've heard some stories similar to that, where the officer will come up and go, "Yeah, this is not the area you want to be at this time of night. I would suggest that you go somewhere about a mile away in any direction."
Yeah.
All right, next email came from Tower of Song, who said, "Technically, my experience wasn't working with Calgary Police Services, but I did educate a couple of officers. A few years back, I found a water cache with my young son. In my log, I mentioned we used dihydrogen monoxide to extract the cache from the tube and made the mistake of quoting some parts of the dihydrogen monoxide hoax page. The cache owner supposed that I was using a dangerous chemical and called poison control. This resulted in a midnight visit to my house by 2 officers. I explained over and over that DHM is analogous to water, but they would have none of it. Finally, after 20 minutes of arguing, they told me to take down my log, apologize, and never do this again. I think they came away with a bit more knowledge about chemicals, water in particular. What surprised me was that Poison Control did not think about the substance that I used. A quick Google search or one of the science-minded in the group would have known.
Ouch. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I have never done anything like that in a log that's warrant a police visit to my house.
You know, that's one of those things I just really don't know what to say, because it seems perfectly innocent and just, you know, like, come on, we're at April Fool's time here. It's tomorrow for us recording, but yesterday for the release date, and for like Team Aviju, it's today because he's in Australia. And you know, that kind of stuff just seems fun.
Is the TARDIS involved again?
No TARDIS involved. Just this time the International Dateline.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, you mentioned Team Aviju, and he sent us a response on Google Plus, and he shared a link to the Reddit entitled "Dangers of Night Caching with a Beard in an Urban Environment" by Josh Wolftree. Out at 2 a.m. doing a bit of searching on my way home from work, stopped by one near a 24-hour convenience store. Sorry, you got lots of numbers there. It confused me. Check the compass. Start the search. Didn't realize the employees are inside watching the security camera. Here's me, a big bearded guy, long hair, just poking around and checking out the area around the propane tank at 2 a.m. Nothing terroristry about that, right? Oh boy. Spotlights come on with blue lights on top of the car. What the heck? Hey, they called the cops. Sheriff gets out, looks at the phone in my hand and says, "You're out geocaching at this hour." He pulls his phone and flashes the same app I have open. GPS is off by about 20 feet on this one. It's on the other side of the curb. I'll let you look before I submit the correction if you want. Thanks, awesome officer. You didn't tase me.
Well, and my first thought when I started reading this was, you know, when you place the cache, you really need to think about where it's going to be placed and who's going to be looking for this, and
what time people. I mean, you know, 2 in the morning. You think, well, nobody's going to be out at 2 in the morning. I don't go geocaching at 2 in the morning, but you know, there are people who work different shifts, and that's their time to go out.
Well, and this is the big problem with doing something like that at a convenience store or a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've gotten permission from the owner or whatever, but that word might not have trickled down to some of especially the newer employees when it's been out there for a few months, and you know, they don't have as many visits on the cache.
Right.
It just doesn't come up. It's not something that they think about. So, you know, they're going to get nervous. You know, if you were working at a gas station at 2 in the morning and someone's poking around your gas tanks.
Oh yeah.
I would be pretty nervous too.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a good thing to say. You know, look around the area you're hiding the cache and say, hey, put it in the hint. By the way, it's not near the propane tank.
Well, Rockjock, you look like you're kind of chomping at the bit for a response to that one.
No, when I was thinking about the number of times that I found light post caches and stuff like that are right next to a convenience store or some other kind of business, and I think to myself, if I worked inside that business and I saw somebody outside lift, the light post or whatever and take something and put it back in and put it back, I think I would probably, if I wasn't a geocacher, wonder what the heck's going on. Especially if as you said, my boss hadn't passed down the information that, hey, they have permission to put something out there. So again, I think it's valuable to, which is probably one of the reasons why I tend to, if my wife and I are caching together, she's really fearless about that kind of stuff. Whereas if I get into a situation where I wonder if an employee inside can see me, I might just not even try. I might just say forget it. It's not worth it to me. But I know some people are fearless about that, and yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking as that you were telling your story about it.
Well, on the flip side of that, I was talking with someone about a year ago who had placed a cache at one of the gas stations, 24-hour gas stations in a fairly rural area, but right off the freeway, and talked with the manager. He's like, yeah, I guess you can place it here. Next time the guy went up to his, I want to say it was a cabin that he had up north or something like that. He stopped and said, hey, how's it going? The manager came out and was like, thank you so much. It's like every night we have someone who stops and comes in and buys even just like a coffee because they stopped here for the geocache. And he actually knew what the geocache was.
Nice. See, yeah, it very often we hear stories that it's positive, especially with the geotours and what have you. But, an individual cache can bring business, that's newfound business of people that wouldn't have been there either at that time or at all. But because there's a geocache there, if you hide it, they will come.
Well, we've been talking about all of these encounters, and sometimes they'll lead to ways to actually educate the officers. But our next question, I think, goes a little bit beyond that.
Hey, Daryl and Chris. This is Antonius, a.k.a. Jeff Harbaugh in the, mundane world. Anyway, LaFay and I are returning from a nice hike with our dog Zool. It's a beautiful 64 degrees here in San Antonio. Probably the last day like this we're going to have. Anyway, was listening to the latest show and wanted to send in, I guess, a question for episode 222. I know since I've been caching, we haven't really had any involvement with law enforcement here in my local area. We've had even before my time, we've had some involvement with the Parks Department, but we're not really doing that anymore either. Parks Department here in San Antonio doesn't want geocaches in the parks. But anyway, that's another story. I was wondering what types of activities or what kind of work have other geocachers done with law enforcement? How can we get them involved, or what can we do to introduce them to geocaching?
Well, my first comment to that is don't trigger a bomb scare to get their attention.
That would be bad.
But lately, that seems to be how I hear about most of these sessions is someone's gotten a cache blown up, and a couple of people in the community get together and start talking with the agency, and get the class or two set up, and it's great that they do that, but please try to avoid the bomb scare portion of that.
Yeah, I think that this programs like the Portland program, and that's part of the reason why we tried to spotlight it, was we would hope that that some folks might see that and say, oh, this might be a good story to take and approach our own local police with, and maybe they don't go so far as to set up, the police don't go so far as to set up geocaches around the town. It'd be great if they did, but maybe it's something as small as, hey, let's host an event where the local police, one of the communications folks or whoever can come out, and we can have a back and forth about what their concerns are, and how we as a community can play our game and not hit on those concerns that they might have, and how we can alleviate some of those concerns, and how they can in turn tell us as geocachers what does concern them and what we can do to avoid problems. So I think something like that. I mean, if I was in a town where I wanted to get the police more involved, I might take them this Portland story and say, hey, this is going on in other places, and this could be a great way for you to engage with the community, because for the Portland police, that was a big part of their motivation, was they're always looking for ways to engage with the community in ways that aren't just during traffic stops or during those problem times, but to find common interests that where you can get together with the people in the community and have experiences that are just around your hobbies. And so for the sergeant that started this particular program in Portland, he's gotten into geocaching, and he said to himself, well, hey, here's a way to engage with the community, and his chief was all over it, and it took off from there. So I think if folks can take examples like this, and it's just as simple as scheduling an appointment to go in and talk to somebody at the local police department. You never know. You know, they might be really interested in it, and they might want to work with you.
Well, Doc Firewoman in the live Q&A says that she's very lucky where she's at. 2 towns that have many caches and mayors or police chiefs that geocache, so the police force is very friendly to the cachers.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
That always helps, but if you have someone like a chamber head or even the mayor, it may still require someone getting involved with the police department to really educate them about how the community works and how finding caches works. And like you were mentioning, it's nice to get that communication going so that they can give feedback to what they're seeing that might be an issue. And like I was mentioning, there was that cacher in Las Vegas who was chased away because they'd had problems with specifically theft of a certain item. Therefore, they didn't want people around it. Well, if they could engage with the community could temporarily archive or temporarily disable rather, or even archive their caches around those areas to eliminate that risk in the future. But until someone knows about it, nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the great things about the Portland event, was it was a chance for the sergeant to say, okay, here are some of our biggest concerns. Number one, I think it's great. I mean, I totally understand that you want to camouflage a container and make it look really cool, but if you're using PVC pipe and it's painted green and it looks like it could be an explosive device, and there's no label on it of any kind, then there's a good chance that we're going to have to do something about that. Whereas if it's a clear container, or if it's labeled, or better yet both, we're probably not going to have that problem. So he took the time to understand the different things that are great about our game, but also was able to point out, hey, just so you know, we want to be able to let you play your game, but here are the reasons why it can be a problem at times. Another thing that he said was, people asked, what should you do if you're out caching and a police officer sees you? Like you've been seen by the police officer. And he said, well, the best thing you can do is call them over or say hello or something. Don't do what you usually do with muggles, right? Which is to try to act, oh, I'm not doing anything, and just try to act all like they know they know something's going on. I mean, that's their job, is to know those sorts of things. So the best thing to do is to say hello and tell them what you're doing, and it usually completely neutralizes the situation.
Exactly. That's great feedback. We have more feedback from Wet Coaster. He says that cache GC58NKN, Newton Community Police Station. This cache will be the first of more to come, focusing on crime prevention and other helpful information available from the Surrey RCMP. As a crime prevention program coordinator, my goal is to get the information out to communities, including the geocaching community. So that's a great thing for the local police department to do, or in this case, RCMP, to put that out and start working with the geocaching community.
Yeah, it's great to hear stories like that. And that one of our pages on geocaching.com is all about law enforcement and state agents, state parks, and other land management agencies, and how they've gotten involved in geocaching. And so anytime we can add more examples of that, we love to be able to do it. So anybody listening to this who knows about police departments or other land management agencies who have gotten involved in geocaching, that we can help spotlight those entities. Send us an email. We'd love to be able to do that on the website.
Now, Chris, what has geocaching.com done to help the police agencies?
Well, a couple of things. We allow them to have free premium membership, which enables them to, of course, see all of the caches that might be in their area. And in rare cases, but more cases than it used to be, if they get a call about something, they can log in and look at a location and say, oh, there's a geocache right there. And that might inform how they approach the situation. If they get called about a suspicious something and somebody says, well, it might be a geocache, they can go onto the website and see both the premium member only caches and the basic member caches that might be out there. So that's a really big thing that we do, and we allow them to we encourage them to take their profile and put as much information on there as they would like to about geocaching on their properties, whether you're a law enforcement agency or a land management agency of some other kind, whether it be local parks department or state parks or things of that nature. So we've got a couple of basic things that we do, but just in general, we have a very open-armed approach to them. We want them to be part of the community. It is only a good thing for law enforcement and parks professionals, people like that, to be engaged with the geocaching community. So anything that we can do to further that along is something that we very much want to do.
Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been a real treat to get to learn a little bit more. This is a show I've been wanting to do for a long time. Are there any parting thoughts that you want to share?
For me, it's just something I said a few seconds ago, which is if you are aware of examples of parks departments or law enforcement agencies or people of that nature that are involved in geocaching in your area, if you wouldn't mind, send us an email at geocaching.com so that we can try to give some attention to those people, because the more examples we have, the more opportunities there are for people to point to successful instances of geocachers and parks professionals and law enforcement working together. And the more examples we have, the better it is for all of us playing the game.
And Limax in the live Q&A echoes shouting, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I love talking to you guys.
Now, last week we announced that we're giving away a trackable state flag tag from coinsandpins.com each week through the end of April to one iTunes or Stitcher reviewer, and this week that was KK6ZLY. So submit your honest reviews and ratings for the GeoGearHeads to either iTunes or Stitcher. We'll take a look at any of those reviews on either service within the last year and pick one at random. And if you have a review on iTunes and on Stitcher, then you'll double your chances. We'll call out the name of that iTunes or Stitcher reviewer, just like we did this week, and you'll have 4 weeks to contact us. It's that easy. Submit a review of the GeoGearHeads to iTunes or Stitcher by the end of April. That's this April 2016, and you'll have a chance at one of those cool state flag tags from coinsandpins.com, which we might add is trackable at geocaching.com.
There you go. And Daryl, thanks for throwing out the year, because we're dealing with time travelers here apparently. I'm kind of stuck on that today.
That does seem to happen, especially around April 1st. There seems to be a lot of temporal issues this time of year.
And I don't know why. I wish we had more time to talk about that. Now, speaking of time, if we go in the time machine forward just a week, we're looking at April 7th, and we're talking with Nate Irish about the geocaching app. April 14th, project-gc.com with Magnus. April 21st, we're talking about boating. April 28th is another one of our randomized shows. This one is 45. I can't believe that. These randomized shows are going to catch up with my age soon.
Well, check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing GeoGearHeads at cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Offenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2016 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash, really cash, a maniac.